This film is, of course, eligible for the People's Choice Award, but it is also eligible for the People's Choice Midnight Madness Award! And that means something tonight, because when I first started and took over this role from the great Midnight Sifu Colin Geddes, let's give Colin a round of applause. When I first took this position, I was so intimidated. I wanted to show something and program a movie that would define my sensibility as a programmer while respecting Colin's. I wanted to show something that was going to rock the room, but to prove that Midnight Madness isn't just a horror section. And I played Body, which you are coordinated with the People's Choice Award. So tonight, we're welcoming you back, an incredible filmmaker who was responsible for that film. This time he's got some help from some producers who have a long history with Midnight Madness. I want to shout out Steven Schneider, who brought Insidious to this festival, and Mark Salem, and in this very lineup at the film Death Mail on Thursday night. Do not miss that film. And I'd like to thank CAA for providing us with this film, and I keep saying this film. This film is going to tear your mind apart. When I saw the film, it was in a state, and Joseph will tell you in a second, he's not convinced I've seen the film.
Maybe not yet.
Because he was still working on it. This is the freshest a film has ever arrived. And I've been being way too long, and he's sitting there getting nervous, so I'm gonna bring him out right now. Please, a huge, enormous Midnight Madness welcome to the king of maximalism, Joseph Kahn!
Wanted to talk now? Alright, what is ICK, right? Because you've seen one image, a poster, and that's it. That means you guys are the most adventurous people in the world, and you're great in bed. So, look, I'll tell you, if you're gonna watch the movie, I'll let the movie speak for itself. It's a raider. What I was thinking about was when I was a kid in the 80s, and they had those movies from 1982, 1983, 1984, you know, and there was just this long list of beautiful Amblin movies and other genres and stuff like that. And that magic of movies, I was thinking, you know what, I haven't seen that in a while, you know? And I haven't seen that in the modern day, and you know who hasn't seen that are the kids today. And I think that's a shame. So what I wanted to do was make something for the kids that I felt back then. Now, we'll see if he succeeded or not, but that's where we are. Now, that's about as much as I'll tell you before we show the movie. One thing you should know is, not only has nobody seen this film, Peter has seen a 25% version of this film. He's a crazy man, like that's insane. Like,
it was the whole duration of the movie. It's not like you showed me the first 25 minutes.
With no monster. Okay, so here's the deal. I just finished the movie yesterday morning. Explain something about filmmaking. So you work on the sound and all that, right? They all work on it. They look at the rough cut of the movie. The visual effects are like done on another thing in another facility, and then because I was getting on a plane, we had to send the sound and the visuals to Canada, okay? And then here in Canada, they put it together, okay? And then in order to test it, I got 30 minutes to look at this. So I scanned the movie around for 30 minutes, like, okay, it's in sync, it looks like the color's working. So I haven't even seen the movie. So, let's watch a movie.
Mena Suvari! Wait, come on guys! Your audience awaits. Just gonna call everyone's name. Debra Wilson as well. Joseph Kahn, Taia Sophia, Zeke Jones, and the great Jeff Fahey. And producer Steven Schneider, if you're back here, come on the stage.
Yeah, boy.
Are we missing anyone? Brandon, where's Brandon? Yeah. Well, we'll start things off. Here we go. So let's give him an applause. While you guys take some minutes to collect some questions, we're going to start things off. Joseph, you told me that this is a script that originated before the pandemic, or there was an idea well before the pandemic, because it was you described to me that you wanted to explore the idea of what it's like to live in a society that's in perpetual crisis.
Yeah, like today. Look, I love horror movies, but you know, I think that the modern world treats monsters different than the 50s or the 30s. Because let's think about like what monsters meant back then. Like, you know, like a town gets taken over by a giant lizard. You know, it's Godzilla, atomic bomb metaphor, right? You know, like a big creature comes in a modern society, grabs a woman, climbs up a roof, and you can't do anything about it. King Kong, right? Or like you have an incredible society that's built up, and you can lock your doors, you can do everything like that. But if you have an interesting-looking dude that is sexy, he can come in there and ruin your entire town. Dracula, you know. But the question of all those things is, what if the monster comes into your town? That's a question that all those monster movies ask. But I believe that we live in a world where we've seen the monster. You know, we've seen 9/11, we've seen COVID, we've seen political situations and things like that we can't control. And you know what happens? We live with it. You know, it's like we kind of ignore it at a certain point. After 2 or 3, you know, weeks or years or whatever, next thing you know, you're just sort of like pretending it doesn't exist. Now, you know, that may be human nature, that might be survival instinct, who knows? But I think that's the question I wanted to ask in this movie. What if the monster comes is not the question. What do you do after it's here?
And with regards to the ick itself, how did you arrive on both the, you know, the organism, but also its design and its aesthetic?
I mean, the design of it, I actually thought of the ick 20 years ago. I thought of it as a 9 Inch Nails video. I wanted Trent Reznor sitting in a chair. I wanted him to sing some song, I forgot which one it is. And then I wanted his skin to start growing around the room. I didn't get that video. But then, you know, like sometimes I think like, you know, some things are good as videos, but why waste it? So I waited. And 20 years later, here we are with ick.
This movie is so aggressively paced, and every shot is in an outrageous setup. I just want to hear from the cast. What is it like to work on a Joseph Kahn film set? Because it feels like it's never just shot, reverse shot. The camera is in a different place, a different setup at all times. There's always incredible choreography that is occurring between camera and actor. I'd love to learn from the cast what their experience was like on this film.
I've never worked with a director like Joseph. It was the coolest, most fun experience I've ever had. He knows exactly what he wants, and he's so visually awesome. And we got to like see some of it while we were shooting, kind of be sort of rough cut, edited together, and that's just such an awesome experience. It was so much fun.
Also, it like looked amazing. Just like when we would run over, we'd always run back to see the fresh footage, and it looked so great already. And yeah, I mean, Joseph was just so thoughtful through the whole process with every single shot and angle. So it was just very easy to go in there and take risks, but also dial it down.
You guys. Listen.
Hey.
Glad it was easy. It can be hard though too, because it's a breakneck speed, as you can tell by the movie. And Joseph mostly has everything planned, but he comes up with a couple, you know, awesome ideas on the spot, which we have to do sometimes. But you know, you have to be. It's a different kind of organism to be involved in a way, because sometimes you're not performing a whole scene or a whole line in one setup. say a line this way and the reaction's this way, or I do half of the line this way and then I turn and do this way. And you know, that was very challenging at first because I've done stop and start kind of shooting before, but this was on a different level, and I had to kind of train that muscle and trust Joseph that we were going to keep going until we got the take that was the right one. And you know, after a few days, we kind of both, I felt like we knew we were pretty close on which one was the right one, and we could stop. But it was a very cool experience. I would absolutely look forward to doing it again, but unique and unlike, you know, any other experience.
You have a really memorable scene with Malina in the car. We were upside down, by the way. How long were you upside down?
Yeah, too much.
But
10 seconds is too much.
That scene almost feels like a microcosm for the movie because it's ping-ponging between the emotions that the characters are conveying in that moment, but it's also a VFX set piece. And so, what was it like shooting that sequence where all these elements are happening and Joseph just keeping it all together?
Yeah, well, you know, Malina and I had to try to keep trying to understand exactly what was going to actually be on screen and keep the pace, but also like, you know, there's the tension, but also we're having this big conversation. So, you know, it was a little bit challenging at first, but then it was fun because we were just, you know, having the comedic conversation-ish at Heartfelt, also with, you know, the ick growing outside and impending doom, you know, not far away. So it was a cool, fun scene to shoot when I was turned the right side up.
Debra, I love your sequence of the film. I think it's one of my favorite gags and a great parody, I think, of moments in these types of disaster films where the small-town character has made the big discovery that, you know, you would think would probably be a day one discovery. Could you describe your experience shooting that sequence, and which again is so there's so much going on. You're yelling at this crowd of actors and these characters. Love to hear about what your experience was that day.
The interesting thing is it's always important to have that voice of reason, and to have that voice of reason not listened to, because if you pay attention to the film, and what makes Joseph Kahn's direction so brilliant is after a while you realize that the ick is the backdrop, and the ignorance of people really comes to the forefront of how do we get over this so that we can have what we want in life, which is a big social and political statement. And so it's wise to be able to look at all of it on so many levels. You've got the comedy, you've got the great editing, you've got the great music, and you've got this social and political sphere that works all together, and then you have the voice of reason that is going to be ignored, like it so happens in so many different societies and so many different political factions, that makes this brilliant. It is larger than what most people know it to be because of that type of direction. And what made my role interesting for me is that it's quick, it's the voice of reason, and it leaves. It doesn't try to be the hero, it is not necessary. It is this one moment in time in which it just comes in to have that social moment and then is out, so that the mayhem and the story and the connection can continue to happen. And I think that's just very brilliant, to have a little bit coming in and then I'm out. And I think it's just a smart role and a fun role, and it was an impactful moment for me to be able to go, yeah, I have to do this, I want to do this, I need to do this.
I mean, it feels like, yes, that's a wonderful answer. Thank you. It feels like, in all of the movies, Joseph, I feel like there's like 5 movies going on at once that we're tracking. And so it's like Debra goes off to her own film. And so I'd love to hear, also just the first 15 minutes of the movie, I feel like are a movie unto itself. And Mena and Brandon, what was it like shooting that whole sequence, which is truly spanning an entire life?
The first 15 minutes?
Yeah, first like act of the movie.
Mena, yeah. That was cool and weird. Like, is this gonna work? And it looks great. Good job, everybody.
Because you wouldn't have, I mean, Joseph didn't even see this movie until today.
and I totally wasn't that guy at all in high school, so that was kind of a fun, like, stupid part to play, being like the cool, popular guy.
It was not that brilliant.
Yeah, so it was fun, right?
For both.
And then the high fives and the, you know, all this silly outfits.
Hairspray.
It was fun. It was cool. What did you like it, Mena?
What?
Did you like it doing the young
I
bits?
did.
the
I
young
mean,
parts?
it was a little. It was yes. I mean, it was absolutely incredible to experience something like that. I never worked on a film where I got to, you know. I mean, I'm scanning my face, and it was just wild. I had no idea what to expect. But you know, it was really, really awesome and exciting. But it was a little strange to be kind of like living the 90s again after, you know, kind of being in it. It was, I think, you know, he captured it perfectly. Absolutely perfectly.
Speaking of the era, that's an element of this film that I think is also really interesting before we throw over to the audience. And that's the use of music, Joseph, and the extraordinary catalog of songs that you've assembled. Can you walk us through what was so important about having this music in the film?
You know, it's about the concept of dating a movie. And a lot of Hollywood movies live in a completely unrealistic world because they want to make these movies last a couple years longer. And they're so scared of being specific about a date because then it's a 2020 film and you're watching 24 and, oh, things they say are so not 24 or whatever it is, or like 2018 is so dated. And I disagree with this concept. I think specificity makes the film more realistic. And it's not like we look at Back to the Future and say, God, that song's from 1985, that sucks, you know? Like, I think that the entire idea of taking music out of someone's life is strange. Like, think about it. Like, how many movies I think movies without music is unrealistic. People listen to music all day long. Music is a big part of their life, right? So if I tell the story about a guy's 20-year journey and I take the music out of it, then that's like, to me, taking a certain emotion out of your life. So, like, the soundtrack is specifically a 2000 soundtrack because it's the soundtrack of Hank's life. And hopefully the soundtrack of some of your lives too, you know? And I also thought, and I'm always really fascinated by it, that music that we play is kind of unknown for Gen Z, you know? But that pop punk thing, it's funny, actually, when I show this film to America, I can safely say pop punk is not a thing anymore. But actually, when I listened here in Canada, I was hearing pop punk on the radio. So maybe it's still here, you know. But the idea of Hank's music being antiquated and yet it still feels so modern and recent is an interesting thing. And I thought it would be something that would be fun to explore in film.
And from the beginning, it was always Creed. You always had to end this movie with Creed.
Yes.
Expensive fuckers.
We'll open it up to the audience for a few questions. Right in the front. Yep. Yeah.
Get it, Deb.
There was a town called Eastbrook in the movie, and then I remember in American Pie there was East Great Falls, and then we talked about the rock music, and then that played a role in this movie. Did you feel a connection at all with that? Did you think about it at all? Or?
I think we talked a little bit about that today, about teenage dirtbag or not knowing. I don't know. I don't think that was necessarily something that was an active choice or decision.
But did it play into the casting at all in terms of what sort of drove your casting for this film?
Okay, so
how did you arrive at your cast?
Okay, so here's the truth. As technical as I am, as much as I focus on lighting and camera and music and sound and all that stuff, at the end of the day, that's not why you watch a movie. The reason you watch a movie is for people, right? So the actors are the most important thing. Like, if I set up a camera and beautifully light it, but the acting is terrible and it doesn't get across the message, then the movie has failed, you know? So casting was the most important thing. I simply would not make this movie unless every part was specifically casted. And so I was, there's two leads. There's Hank and there's Grace. And I was looking around for those. I knew one of those two would have to start the chain, and hopefully you get two great actors, which by the way, I did, But I started with, actually the first person I casted was actually Malina, because I knew that Grace was, it's like, when you're like 18 years old and stuff like that, there's just a handful of these people out there, So I scoured all of Hollywood, looked for every fresh talent. Malina came on, and it was obvious right from the start, that she was miles above every other actress. And one of the reasons why.
Gorgeous!
And one of the reasons why is because she read the lines seriously. Everybody else tried to do their comedic take on it and do their funny version of it. Malina just played it straight, but she was charming and she was funny, and all of a sudden I realized that's the tone of the movie. Do not make fun of these lines, take them seriously, you know? And so that actually, and I'm not just saying this, that literally made me think that's the way the entire movie needs to be. You set the tone for the acting, okay? And then we were looking for Hank, you know? And the thing about Hank is that's a tricky part to play. It's a very tricky part because you're a hero, but you gotta be likable, you know, and likability is a weird thing, you know? You can't just cast likability.
It's in Iowa.
It might be like you might be likable, but you might be a bad actor and stuff like that. And this has some chops. He's got some ups and downs and cries and things and pacing and stuff like that. And also, there's another element too. That acting style that he's describing, where you start and stop and stuff like that, that's extremely difficult for actors. Like, so I can't cast non-actors in these roles. I need people that come with tools. I need people that know how to get into a scene and make the third line of any paragraph feel just as great as if they went through the other 2 pages. And that takes a certain level of skill that is just incredibly hard. And Brandon has that, you know?
Movie star!
We were talking, there's a waving hand in the dress circle, but it might be our only last question. Thank you.
So I don't agree with the pop punk, I'm sorry to say.
Pop punk is still here to stay. We're getting to the dressing.
It's still in America, there's arguably, there's some other singers, so I don't agree with that. Number 2, I don't care. Number 2, I don't totally agree that music should be in every movie. Now, I know you think that, and that's fine.
Do you have a question?
Okay, we're gonna get one more question. Sorry, there weren't questions there. This is comments. Let's right there.
How does the soundtrack fucking rip?
That's the producer. We're not going to the producer. That's it. Right over there.
Did this movie remind you of any other films that you made, like Lawnmower Man or anything else?
Jeff.
Well, I'll tell you, it did in a number of ways. One was that when we made The Lawnmower Man, Pierce and I, all of the special effects actually didn't exist at that time, and even did virtual reality at that time. So when we were making the movie, when we went to the first screening, it was an amazing experience like this. So when I made this film, I think I worked for about a week or 4 or 5 days, and I didn't meet anyone else in the cast. It was just Brandon and I working. So now I'm meeting everyone. Mena and I know each other. We've worked a number of times, but I'm meeting everyone for the first time. But to answer your question, it did remind me of that, because it was an explosion of an experience when I saw that film for the first time, and that's what this was this evening. And I'll just finish on this. I think this is the beginning of, even though Joseph's been directing and working in the industry for 30 years, I think this is the beginning of a big, big career for this guy.
Please keep it going for the filmmakers cast of it. Remember to vote for the film at TIFF.net/vote. Maybe history will repeat itself as it did in 2017.